Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about a analysis display framework inside of Revit, and I'm going to show you a quick demonstration of using Mantis shrimp, using Ladybug inside of Grasshopper to export meshes with user strings attached to them. The user strings are going to contain all the result information from the seller analysis, and later they're going to be used in Dynamo. This is what you can see on my screen over here right now. I'm going to use those in Dynamo to create an analysis display style, and then you can visualize that quickly, the results of the seller analysis done in Grasshopper in Revit, using Revit display analysis style that can be applied to a 3D view. So in this example, I'm going to demonstrate a style called marker and text. So basically, you can just project a series of points, and each point is going to contain a numerical value that later gets projected across a gradient of color, where blue is 0, the minimum, and then red is maximum. So you can start seeing the seller analysis result over here. So it all started on the Grasshopper side, where you create a surface. So once you create a surface, you then run an analysis using a Ladybug tool created by Mustafa. You can download it from the Grasshopper. So once you run your analysis, the output of that analysis is two things. You have the radiation result, which is a series of numerical values represented in kilowatt hours per square meter, which is basically a radiation per mesh surface. And then also the output is a mesh surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Mantis shrimp to move that information across to Dynamo, and then later to Revit, so we can visualize that. So to do that, we're going to need two of the Mantis shrimp components. First is export to export a surface, but before we can do that, I'm going to use Mantis shrimp component to attach value strings. The string values that I'm going to be attaching to it are the radiation result values. So all these values, there's 799 of them, represent a value of for each one of the mesh cells. So I'm also going to need to, since the way the user strings work is that you're going to need a user string value as a string, and then a key as a string as well. So what I'm doing is I only want to move across the mesh analysis results, but since I need a key, I need a field, I need to create a dictionary. So I'm just gonna do a list length and create a series of numbers. So basically, this is just numbers that correspond to however many strings I'm gonna move, and those will become my my keys. So you assign that into keys, and then all your strings into, your analysis result into values. And you write that, you also pull out a mesh. So what this node does, it will take that mesh and then write all those values to that mesh. And once you have that, the output is a mesh geometry with all the information associated with it. So you send that across, you specify your path, you set it to true, and then some file mesh, and it just writes that geometry. So now you can open it up in Dynamo to import the file. So really quickly, let's jump back to Revit Dynamo. So before we get to this, there's a series of things that need to happen inside of Dynamo. So I'm gonna really quickly walk you through. So first things first, we need to use the file path to pick out that file. So that file gets stored inside of a Mantis shrimp actually mesh coloring, and it was called some file mesh geometry, right? So once we have that, I'm just gonna plug it in here really quick. So that gives you a file path. Then we're using a read grasshopper file to translate the geometry from the txt file that we've written out. And what it comes out is if you're using read grasshopper file, then it's going to come out as straight up geometry. It's not going to be a Rhino object, but it's geometry. It's close enough. So it tells me that we're sending over a mesh, which is perfect. So to visualize that mesh, I can use a Rhino mesh to DS mesh, a Mantis shrimp component, and run it. And you can see in the background right away that this is a surface that we're working with. So this is that mesh that we're going to be working with. Another thing that I'm using here is two components. One of them is used to pull out user strings. So if you plug that mesh into that user string object, it's going to give us a list of all the values that are assigned as user strings. So there you go. So these are all the values. They're corresponding. If I jump back over here, these are all the values that represent radiation results. So these are all the same values. So, and then to create an analysis, I'm also going to need points. So since these points represent center points of each quad of the mesh, I also create a component called getRhinoMeshFaceCenter. So you plug in that mesh that you moved over, and then what's going to happen is that it's going to create a series of points. And if I turn on the preview really quickly, you start seeing the grid of points on that mesh face. So these are the points that we're going to use to create an analysis style. So once we have all these, so this is our basis. What we're going to use is a marker display style. To create a marker display style, we're going to need points and values. We already have those two extracted from the mesh. Next thing we're going to need is a color setting. So there's a node called color settings. There you go. That will create all the color settings that we need for our analysis. Color settings are basically a list of colors that we can use to create this gradient. I'm going to show you really quickly. So I'm plugging in, the more colors you create, the more kind of gradual the gradient is going to be. But I can use just the first and last to give us a min-max kind of standard gradient. And I'm also going to create a I'm going to create a list from them. So what this is going to do is going to give us a list of two colors, right? I hate this. Dynamo just kind of gets stuck sometimes. Anyways, so these are our two colors. So we can plug those in here, and that can be the new gradient. So instead of doing all these kind of gradual, all those in between colors, we can just use two colors and it will redefine it in Revit. But that just doesn't look. It doesn't look too good, since the one in Rhino was using kind of 11 colors in between. So to get a very close result, we want to really assign all 11 of these colors. So the way you create a color, I'm using code blocks, so it's colored by ARGB. A is a opacity, it's an alpha channel, so you just set it to 1 to make an opaque color, and then all the rest of them are RGB values. and then you just combine them with the list. So I'm going to reuse my colors. So there you go. So that gives us all the colors. So the color settings control the colors inside of the bar. Once we have our color settings, you plug them into color settings. Next thing we can set with these tools is a legend setting. So inside of legend settings, there's a couple of settings that we can control. First of all, it's a true or false. We can show or not show the legend. So if I change this to false and rerun the definition, that will just make the legend disappear. So if we're not showing the legend, just set it to false, and you don't have to worry about anything else. But if you are showing it, then you have a couple other things that you can create here. So I'm just going to really quickly walk you through what all these settings here control. Show units is going to control whether we display any units on the legend or not. Show name is the solar radiation / points. That's what's controlling the name. And then you have a heading text type. So you can pick out of the Revit a text type that you can use. So kind of standard if I was on the Revit side and typed in really quickly just my view properties bar. So these are all your text type available. So I only have three of them available. But this node that I created previously, get text node type by name. You can just type in the name of your text type, and that will pull out a text type. And then you can use an element IDs node to get an element ID. So that will give you a text type ID. So this is the heading text type, and this will be the body text type, so all those smaller ones. So you specify those two IDs, and then you get another true false setting, show data description. So the description is that line over here. So you can choose to either display it or not. So I'm going to set this to false really quickly, rerun it. So that'll make the data description disappear. The rest of them is a rounding, so you can see the three digits on the side over here. So this is controlled by the rounding. So if I round it up to hundreds, you can see the legend rounding change. Then you can control the actual physical appearance since the graph is not scaled. You can make the graph width be a little bit, make it a little wider and maybe a little bigger in height. So that will make the graph bar kind of grow or shrink. I actually like 5 and 10, so I'm just going to keep it like that. So that's it for the legend. So once we have our settings, you use those legend settings to plug those in here. Next thing, and the final thing, we need marker settings. Marker settings is all the stuff that's happening over here with the marker. So then again, there's a marker setting node, and you can see all these inputs for it. First is a marker type. You have 3 choices. One that you see on screen right now is square. Other choice is circle. And all I have to do is just really type it in circle as a string, just enclosed in parentheses. In quotation marks. So if I rerun this, you can see the style change to dots. And then so there's a circle, square, and triangle. Those are really the only 3 choices that we have at the point. So we can do that, and then also on the bottom here, text label type. You can choose between showing none or showing all. When you show all, that's when all the values assigned to each point will get displayed. So when those values are getting displayed, rounding and text type ID are the 2 things that start to playing a little bit bigger role. So if you want your rounding to be a little bit more precise, then you can just control it here. You can also specify a different text type, which probably at this point, I'm using 330 seconds, but if you were to plug in a 1/4 inch text type, then all of a sudden it's going to grow really big. So yeah, I'm just going to go back to the previous one. But you can specify all those little things. Also, that second input is marker size, and marker size at this point, if you feel like, I'm going to change this to none. If you feel like your marker is too small, you can easily make it a little bit bigger. Rerun it, maybe even bigger. So you can control all the text that controls all the marker settings. So once we have our settings set up for marker setting, we plug that in, and then there's a couple more things that you're going to start seeing on the legend. This is where all this legend stuff comes from. First things first, display style. This is a display style name that doesn't show up on the legend itself, but you can see it if I turn my properties bar back again. Display style name is the name that it actually gets stored under. So that usually wants to be pretty unique. Then you have analysis result name. Analysis result name is a name that's going to show up if you in the legend settings tell it to show up. That's what's going to display here. Solar radiation points, that's what's going to display. Also, analysis result description is that stuff in the legend that was displayed down here. So if we go back to our legend settings and display that, so Ladybug analysis result points, this is where it comes from. Ladybug analysis result points, that's your analysis result description. And then this one's pretty important over here. So this is for your units. If you choose not to show units, you're fine. But if you choose to display units, you want to specify those three things here. First, you have to supply a list. A list is it's enclosed in the curly brackets in the code block, or you can just create, just like I was creating it like this, and then you can create strings. So however you create those, I'm not actually going to create this. So you could do something like this and create a list. So that's it's the exact same result as, so it gives you a list. It's the same result as enclosing the curly brackets. I just prefer to keep them all together. So if you supply a list of two units, the reason why I'm feeding it 2 units is because I might want to display my values in different units. So kilowatt hours per square meter is kind of standard for radiation analysis results. So you want to have that, and that's your, since that's the units that that were sent over with. So this is regarded to be scale 1:1. And then if I wanted to display it in megawatt hours per square meter, that's a 1,000 fraction of it. So each one of these results will get multiplied by that value to display in a different unit. And to show you, and this last value over here, it's called display unit. This is where we actually specify which one of these 2 units we want to use to display it. So right now, these are all the same. These are in kilowatt hours. You can see it clearly. But if I was to change it to megawatt hours, all these values are going to get multiplied by 8,000, and then that's how they scaling, and the units are displaying here. So this will be same if I had my results in feet, for example, some sort of different analysis, and I wanted to display them in inches. Then feet will be 1.0, inches will be 12, and then everything gets multiplied by that, and then you can control it from here. So I actually like using kilowatt hours because that's the standard for solar analysis. So these are all your settings for the marker display style, and if you set everything up correctly, you will get a success message. So, and this is what it's going to look like in Revit. It's pretty useful for presentations or whatever other type of data you wish to show. All the nodes are going to be available on under Archilab. I'm actually here. So all of those nodes are going to be available for download. If you go to package, search for package, so just search for Archilab, Archi-Lab. All these nodes should be available over here. If not, I'm going to make them all available on my blog. So if you go to archi-lab.net and then go to download section for Dynamo 7, you'll be able to find all the nodes that you need on this download page. They're not here yet, but I'm working on putting them in on. So there's that for today. I'm probably gonna make another video because I was working on another display style. The next display style I want to talk about is actually colored surfaces. So these are markers. You can use points to display analysis results, but you can also just project them on a surface and use kind of your standard analysis result, which is much more similar to what you see over here, which is a mesh surface with color overlay on it. So I'm going to talk about that next. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Remember to download Ladybug. Remember to download Mantis Shrimp. Mantis Shrimp, all the components can be found on Mantis Shrimp GitHub. So just go to github.com/ksoban/Mantis Shrimp. You can find all the tutorials, all the download links, all source code for it. As a matter of fact, it's an open source project, so you can find everything you need on the Mantis Shrimp GitHub page. Thanks for following. Thanks for watching. Look out for news on my Twitter account. Look out for news on my blog. Alright, thank you.